It's a request from the comptroller. I see that she is here and has guests. Please do come forward. And we have some papers, so let's get that handed out before we begin. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody's sitting.
Yeah.
Okie doke.
Oh, what's yours? Come on, again.
Let me sit there.
I think we have all the paper handed out. So why don't we start over here, name and address for the record, and then we'll go to my left.
I'm Michael Simeone. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for the City of New Haven, and I also cover the Board of Education. I live at 639 Tamarack Road in Cheshire, Connecticut.
Shannon McHugh, Budget Director, 295 Ornoak Road, Waterbury, Connecticut.
Ron Guzzi, 219 Raymond Terrace, Hampton.
Dr. Christy Samperi, City Controller, 222 Ashland Street, New Haven, Connecticut.
Thank you. Terry Hagemeyer, SAP Concur. My address 5883 Settlers Ridge Circle in Sylvania, Ohio.
Hi, I'm Steve Anworth. I'm a social consultant at Concur, and my address is 538 Franklin Avenue, South Plainfield, New Jersey.
Thank you very much. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, members of the board, and colleagues. Tonight I want to bring to your attention a growing operational and financial challenge in our invoice and payment processing system, one that is impacting our ability to deliver services to the public quickly and effectively. This is not an isolated issue only affecting finance. It cuts across all of our departments, from the Board of Education to Economic Development to the Community Services Administration, and it affects not only our operational efficiency, but our relationships with vendors, local contractors, nonprofit agencies, and minority-owned businesses that depend on timely payments to keep their operations running. The current state. Our current process uses the Oxygen invoicing system as the front end for invoice capture, which that feeds data into our Munis ERP system. While invoices do move automatically between Oxygen and Munis, there is a critical bottleneck. At times, they cannot proceed without being manually released by Oxygen staff members. This is due to mapping concerns. However, there are more serious issues. One that raises governance and control concerns. The CEO of Oxygen has direct contact with our city vendors, holds the ability to manipulate our ERP system, and has full visibility into our funding sources, workflow structures, and vendor account numbers. This level of external access creates a significant risk to the city's financial security, confidentiality, and operational independence. We as a city must take back control of our financial system. The processes that manage public funds should be directed and monitored and safeguarded internally. I have examples of departmental impact. On the Board of Education side, late vendor payments disrupt programs, student support services, and other contracted activities that our schools rely on. For the Economic Development Department, slow payment cycles reduce our competitiveness when attracting bids from local vendors and minority-owned businesses. Community Services Administration, delayed grant and service partner payments make it harder for nonprofits to sustain vital community programs. Across all of our departments, the result is the same: slow project delivery, missed opportunities, strained relationships, and delay in payment. The core problems with our current system: The manual release of bottleneck, which the invoices cannot be processed without staff intervention, even though the feed is automated. There's no ACH payment capability. We remain dependent on paper checks, which are slower, more expensive, and less secure. There are compliance gaps. Without automated approval routing, we face audit risks and the potential for duplicate payments. Vendor relationship strain, inconsistent payment timelines frustrate vendors and discourage participation in city projects. Scalability limits. The current system cannot integrate with modern payment systems, duplications, and fraud prevention technologies. And there's no fraud or duplication detection. There are no built-in artificial intelligence capabilities to prevent errors, duplication, or fraudulent invoices. The cost of doing nothing. If we continue with the current process, our vendors, especially small, local, minority-owned businesses, will continue waiting months for payments that they should receive within a 30-day turnaround. Staff time will remain tied up in manual work instead of focusing on strategic priorities. And we risk vendor disengagement, fewer competitive bids, and slower project timelines. The strategic impact for the city. By adopting a modern system, we can deliver measurable and immediate improvements. Real-time budget visibility. Departments will be able to see their spending and expenses as they happen. There's advanced reporting, ability to generate a wide range of financial reports instantly, which is something we do not have currently with Oxygen. Faster payments, daily ACH payment processing to vendors, contractors, and service providers. Workflow resolution, removal of the existing bottlenecks within Munis. A future-ready infrastructure that is scalable, secure, and meets compliance standards. An automated integration of which Concur can perform a nightly batch upload into our Munis General Ledger, ensuring accurate and up-to-date records. SAP Concur's invoice, expense, and travel management and ACH vendor payment platform offers the automation, integration, and AI capabilities we need to modernize this process. It will eliminate the manual release of the bottleneck workflow issues, enable ACH payments to local contractors and minority-owned businesses at a much quicker speed, use AI to detect duplicate invoices and prevent fraud, which is something we do not have right now, provide mobile and remote approval options to keep processes moving, and create a complete audit trail for compliance and accountability. By moving from a fragmented, manual, risk-prone system such as Oxygen to SAP Concur, we will be able to process payments faster, support our local and minority-owned businesses, improve public service delivery, and ensure compliance, all while reducing financial risk. I am asking for the board's support to approve this modernization initiative so that we can begin implementation this fiscal year. This is more than a technology upgrade. It is a necessary step to strengthen our operations, build better relationships with our businesses that serve our city, and position New Haven for a long-term fiscal sustainability. Thank you, and I welcome your questions.
Well, thank you for that presentation. Before we continue, let me recognize our colleague Alder Yvette Hamilton, who has joined us.
Good evening, everyone.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Are there other comments that your team wish to make before we proceed with questions from colleagues?
The only comment I like to make is that Oxygen doesn't fit into our cybersecurity strategy going forward because the data is held offshore and there's no way that we can control what the end user at Oxygen does with that data. So that's a security risk on our part for the city.
And I also want to add to that. Recently, it was brought to my attention that the CEO of Oxygen wanted us to purchase a duplication software platform. That duplication software platform would also be held offshore in the UK. I told him that I thought that it should be his responsibility, that his company should provide that technology. And he told me that he wanted us to purchase a third-party vendor to do this. So he doesn't even have the technology to do the technology that we need.
I'd like to point out too that it's not, we're not trading one service for another.
Mm-hmm.
We're trading one service for a service that will give us so much more in terms of how we can manage our spending and transparency and reporting. It'll add a lot more in terms of reporting capabilities, and lots of other data that we need to run the city more efficiently. So I wouldn't say it's a win-win trade at all. We're getting significant.
No, it's a definite upgrade.
Right, and it's not apples to apples either. So we're not going from invoicing at Oxygen to invoicing at Concur. What we're going to be getting at Concur would be invoicing, ACH payment processing.
Not everybody knows acronyms. ACH, I think
It's Automated Clearinghouse Payment System.
Yes.
So what that means is that we'll.
wire transfers.
Yes, thank you. We don't have that right now. It was shut down when the cybersecurity attack hit the city about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So since that point in time, we've been sending out paper checks to vendors. And those paper checks go out on a weekly basis on a Friday, once a week. So we are essentially paying all of our vendors 4 times a month. This will allow us to pay them daily and process the payments faster. Faster meaning they'll be able to push the money out quicker. And there's also fraud detection and duplication detection. We will also be purchasing travel and expense, which is something we don't currently have right now either. The travel and expense portion, what's happening right now within the city is that the purchasing department, in order to reconcile the P cards every month, sends around an Excel spreadsheet that all the department heads have to log in their data, how much they spend, who they spent it with, and then submit invoices to reconcile on a monthly basis.
And the duplication issue, duplicating checks or paying vendors twice, doesn't sound like much, but there is a lot to that in the background that has to be done. We're getting the check back or cancel a check, voiding the check. There's journal entries that have to be done. So it does cause a lot of problems in the background that you normally wouldn't think of.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to add that Shannon and my department is inundated with people from the community calling and asking where their money is, where their checks are. They, completed projects 2 months ago, where's their money, and things like that. So we need to be able to service our community much better.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I noticed you gave us a large deck and didn't make any reference to it. Now, I'm not asking you to go through it if you don't need to, because it looked like it would take some time, but you did give this to us.
Yes, and that I was actually going to have Concur go.
Okay.
I'm not gonna torture you.
In your abbreviator.
I commend you for putting page numbers on it, because we always like to know what page we're on.
Absolutely.
And before you commence, let me recognize our colleague, Alder Jeanette Morrison, who will join us.
So again, my name is Terry Hagemeyer. I'm from SAP Concur. Thank you for giving us your time today. With me is my teammate, thank you, Steve Vanderwerf. And he's here to keep me honest and answer any technical questions that I may not know the answers to in case they come up. I'm not going to go over this entire deck. This is a comprehensive deck that really, for those that are not familiar with Concur and our technology, it kind of digs into what we do, how we do it, and kind of why we are the best in class. This technology was built about 35 years ago. The architects behind it recognized the gaps in enterprise resource planning software, your current ERP, which is Munis. So it was particularly built for vendor invoices and employee expenses, goods, services, things like that, where ERPs kind of lacked the technology. So really what our software does, it's kind of a niche software that eliminates paper, the need for manual data entry, typing things in, spreadsheets, no more Excel spreadsheets, storing documents, storing receipts, storing paper. Everything is done within the system, one platform, and it's all stored in that platform. And if you ever needed to get the data out of the platform, we have reporting, and then also, downloads available should you need to extract anything. So really kind of adding to what Dr. Sampieri shared is that the technology for the city is a bit broken. The process trying to get Oxygen and Munis to communicate and work seamlessly has not been achieved. It's giving them fits, and she's constantly inundated with calls wondering where their payments are, where the holdup is. And I know it's a big concern for security reasons, fraud, risk. It really puts, the city at a high level of risk. So Concur is not just here to support the city, it's really to firm up the backbone of the city. So Concur, as it processes everything, will then tie to Munis, and the data will hit the GL. So, without
General ledger?
General ledger. Without the high quality functioning tools in place, the city and services it provides are at risk. And so now is the time to invest in the technology, not continue to put Band-Aids on the existing technology, but really it is a necessity to kind of modernize this phase. And that's where kind of Concur steps in. We've been the leader in this space in the private sector for over 30 years, innovators and constantly evolving. We were the first to the cloud in 2010. I think we have about 75% market share in the private sector. And now that cities are modernizing and getting away from paper, we're really building up steam in the public sector as well. A recent customer, for instance, is the city of Atlanta. Just added Concur that integrates with their ERP. Any questions before
I'll let you know when it's time for questions, so
okay.
if you still have.
Sure. So moving on, I'm on, I guess it would be slide 6. We start to get into some statistics, but there are really 4 key areas where Concur shines, where we really provide value and impact for the city. So we really provide that controls and compliance that the city needs, the guardrails that need to be in place to protect the city from any risk, fraud, mistakes, duplicate payments, things like that. Spend governance, this will give you the efficiencies and workflows that are currently lacking. Also the internal auditing controls that current systems do not have. This will really help Christy and her team oversee all the spending before, during, and after it happens. Also the employee experience. Employees don't, or not anybody really likes to complete expense reports, reimbursement reports. It's no longer a painful process when you use Concur Expense. Everything is automated. You can use your mobile device to capture receipts, to track your mileage, and basically the expense report writes itself. Again, eliminating paper and manual data entry. The last thing, agility and resilience. Whenever I start talking about this particular, impact of Concur and the value, I think of COVID when a lot of organizations had to stop going into offices. Well, as invoices are coming in, they needed somebody there to actually process them. Well, with Concur being in the cloud, everything can be done electronically. And you don't always have to have somebody in the office manually typing things in when it's coming into the system electronically. All right. On slide 7, it really breaks down how Concur works, and it's really quite simple. Our software captures the invoices or the receipts or travel itineraries, whatever it may be. It's accepting the paper through email, through digital exchange, credit card transaction, everything that flows into the system automatically, electronically. And then our software is working behind the scenes. There's 5 layers of technology. We use OCR, AI. We have proprietary software in there that's building pixelated templates. And as it's going, it's collecting data and generating AI built upon all of our customers. So it's not just analyzing yours. Now, keep in mind, it's all very secure, but it's learning daily from every invoice, every receipt that comes in. So we have an over 98% accuracy rate of capturing all the data on the receipt, on an invoice, whatever it may be, and then routing it and processing it without any manual intervention. So people, again, it's going to be on the screen in the system. All they have to do is review it. They click yes, okay, we approve, and then it goes off to the next step, which is payment. We do have an invoice pay manager, which is an optional tool, but this again has payments and all of your invoices and expenditures in one system where it can all be monitored. It can all, as it's flowing through the system, through the workflow, it can, be stopped before a mistake or something gets paid that shouldn't be. So really, if you just think about capture, process, and pay, that's what Concur does. All right. Oh, and it's a software as a service, another acronym SaaS, software as a service. So it is a hosted solution. It's not anything that the city or Dr. Sampieri has to maintain. Concur maintains that for you. So we do all the updates. There's not any sort of action that the IT team needs to take on a monthly basis. Concur takes care of all of that for you.
So that means then, if for a layperson, that the software is running on your servers and that the users here log in as clients, they have a session, but we don't need to load software onto city services.
Correct.
Servers, rather, it's all being done.
The analogy I like to give is, it's like Gmail. You're just worried about signing in and checking your email. You're not worried about their backing it up and the security.
Correct. Yep. All right. All right, so let's see, moving along. The additional slides, starting on, I guess, page 9, it really starts to dig into kind of what does all of this mean for the city. And you heard what Dr. Sampieri was saying about all the challenges and the issues that are ongoing. And by implementing Concur and kind of modernizing, evolving what you do have, kind of upgrading, so to speak, your staff, her staff, they'll stay on top of due dates. They'll avoid late fees, late payments, lost checks. Again, with payments being done electronically via ACH or any other electronic payment, or you can have, attach a ghost card, a credit card, a purchasing card, different payment methods, so that everything again is in one system for full visibility. Payables get prompted or processed promptly, and eliminates again all the late fees, any damaged supplier relationships, and staying on top of that. So also, as all of this is in, all of your spend, so to speak, is in one system, you can identify opportunities to manage your bottom line. So if you're tracking your vendor spend, you can see who you're spending the most with. Maybe, for instance, an example in travel, maybe you have people that are traveling and you want to have a car rental agreement with Hertz, and you want to have folks only using Hertz. You can set that up in the system. You can control and kind of guide folks to making the right decisions. With flights, for example, you can set up guardrails to say, you can't fly first class. You can only select this type of seat, things like that. All of this can be controlled and implemented in Concur. You set up your own parameters. The system is already built. We know it works. It's hosted in cloud. We have thousands of customers all over the globe. It really just gets configured to the city's requirements. You need to follow regulations. We put everything in Concur, so it allows the city to follow all of that. And really, it encourages your employees to make the right, most economical decisions.
And an important distinction there too, like we said, was with configuration. Like with Oxygen today, they got to recode things every time, right? Right here. We don't write any code. Our people have already written all the code and published all the code and tested all the code. All we do is configure the software, like flip switches and everything, make it work for you. And then all you're just testing is make sure your configuration works. So when you're doing your testing during implementation, you're not worried about does a save button work. We've done all that already. You know what I mean? Like you're just testing to make sure you see all the right fields and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could go on
I could.
in great detail.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps you want to sum it up in the next couple of minutes.
Sure. I think really, the bottom line for I think for the city itself, I've been talking with Christy and purchasing IT budget for over a year now, listening to just the challenges that they've been experiencing. And, you're definitely not the first public sector customer that I've worked with. We hear all the same similar issues because now everybody's starting to modernize, get away from paper. Everybody's experiencing these challenges. So it's only going to be a matter of time before you have to modernize. So really Concur being the leader in this space, it's going to help you and solve all of the issues that are outlined in slides, basically 2 through, I think, 5, everything that Christy outlined in her speech. Anything?
Does anybody use Concur today? At your job? Like other jobs?
Well, we'll save that for the Q&A
Later.
portion.
Oh, I'm sorry. My
That's
bad. Okay.
But really, bottom line is it's going to give you one integrated platform to capture everything, process it, report on it, pay it in a timely fashion, secure, according to all of the security measures, and really give you that insight and visibility into all the invoices, where they are in the process, where they are in the workflow. You have an audit trail. Anytime anybody clicks anything, you'll be able to see who touched it last, what they did, and go back to it. So really giving you that audit and visibility that you need. And again, giving you the employee increased productivity. So not only Christy's team that's having to deal with this and spend hours trying to track invoices and where's the payment, where's the check, it really just is going to make everything flow easier, make it more efficient, and everybody can be more effective or more productive and focus on other tasks and other more important issues than trying to track down an invoice or a check.
Great. Why don't we pause there?
Yes.
We thank you all for the presentation, and we'll now have questions from members of the committee.
Okay.
So the queue is now open. We'll begin with Alder Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your presentation. I guess we should say welcome to the 21st century. I'm surprised that some of this we're not already doing, but tonight, I guess what we're trying to figure out is whether this system is worth $700,000.
That's us.
Am I the wrong one?
Yeah, no, we're
You're the
not.
wrong one.
Concur?
Are you looking at it from a 3-year perspective?
Yeah.
Oh, the 3
Oh,
year.
okay.
Okay.
Well, that's what we're voting on tonight, right? $676,725.
Yep.
I rounded it up.
Sorry, I was
Or-
thinking annually,
Oh.
not,
No, we're not voting on the annual, we're voting on the full 3-year agreement, which is why it's before us, because it's a multi-year contract. So what we're talking about is whether this particular software or program is worth this amount of money. So my first question would be, who else have you considered? If anyone.
We went off of a government
Please
contract.
make sure you're thank you.
We went off of a government contract, because we were looking at, other technologies. And Concur did, and I have the contract here if you'd like to see it. It's part of the city's ordinance that we could do this, is go off of a cooperative agreement through the government. So this is where we went with, Concur. Because they offered not only invoicing, which a lot of other companies offered only invoicing, they offered invoicing, travel expense, and the ACH payment system. I do want to, though, to your point, since the inception of Oxygen in 2019, the city has spent $965,156 on our current system. So from 2019 to 2025, that's 6 years, we've spent that much money. We currently, on an average, spend between 150,000 to 175,000 per year on our oxygen system. So this system will cost about, it's $213,000 a year, and that will give us, it's about a $38,000 difference, if you look at it from a $175 perspective.
I would like to add, there would be labor savings as well, because the process for entering, so Oxygen takes care of a small portion of the invoices, and then the departments take care of a lot of invoice entry themselves. Our department, in the Office of Policy Management and Budget, we enter all the utility invoices in. It takes 2 people to do that. Not on a full-time basis, but it takes part-time, 2 people doing that on a weekly basis. So I think when we have a more robust system that allows us to more easily get the invoices into the system and to monitor the invoices, there will be labor savings associated with that. And I can break that out if you need.
I wouldn't ask that. I'll wait. 'Cause I know another colleague will talk more about the labor savings. But I do want to go back, and thank you for that. I want to go back to, it didn't sound like you were on the same page regarding security. So could you what was going on with the offshore? What was that about? So the vendor can't provide?
So I think he did this a couple corners, to be honest with you. He, instead of going with a domestic US-based software company, which Concur is, he went with a company called Oxygen, which now changed into a name called Kefron. Kefron is domesticated and domiciled in Ireland. There is a US dollar to, I don't know what the currency is in Ireland, but there is a difference. So he can save money by having his business in Ireland and contracting software through Ireland. So all of our systems, everything that comes through the cloud and has to go through Ireland, and then it comes back to us. And that's a cybersecurity concern for us.
And there's no way for us to audit him because his systems are offshore and we don't have access to them.
Mm-hmm. And then the duplication system that he was trying to have us buy, which was about another $30,000 in addition to what we're spending with Oxygen, that is domiciled in the UK, in London. So that's another foreign country that we'd be doing business with, instead of having everything domesticated in the US.
So what's the solution?
The solution is to go with Concur and bring everything back home to the US.
This oxygen is making me not be able to breathe. Okay.
Very good metaphor.
I'm sure the independent
Everyone
took note. We'll be hearing that again.
And just my final, and I had it until I made a pun. I'll yield, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Next, we have Alder Punzo, then Alder Smith.
Is there a plan to make this switch? And if this platform does pass, how would you do that? I mean, they've been using Munis and Oxygen for quite some time, and most of the employees are comfortable with that. Is there training built in? Is there someone that's going to be on site? I mean, because it's not easy to make a switch with the number of people that deal with all this stuff.
Sure.
And I can add to it.
Sure. So we haven't talked about, I know that Dr. Sampieri wants to move quickly to resolve these issues. The implementation usually on average takes about 3 months because, as we've said, the system's already built. All we have to do is configure it based on your requirements. So once we have a better understanding of the timeline, assuming, it gets approved and then this, the mayor has to sign certain steps, has to go through legal review, things like that. Once that's finished, then we can establish a more firm timeline and a cutover date. So realistically, or ideally, we'd love to have the project underway and get things implemented for later this year or early next year, calendar year. And then we could figure out a cutover. You'd still be using Munis. They'd still be using Munis, but now instead of the oxygen piece, that would go away and everything would go into Concur, and then it would connect and integrate with Munis. As far as training goes, yes, that's part of the implementation. There's a knowledge transfer. Because it's cloud, the implementation is done remotely. There's no need for anybody to come on site. It's all done remotely via Teams, everything else. And what other questions did you have about it? Was that it? Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Did you want to add?
I just wanted to add, there's also a lot of complaints from the employees that Oxygen can't do what they needed to do. Like even a simple adding someone to the workflow is a problem. Because if you add someone to the workflow in one area, it like messes it up somewhere else in a different workflow. And that is because the Oxygen system had to be built into our Munis system. It's not like a standalone system like Concur is. So there are a lot of complaints from city employees about how its functionality. So that was also a motivating factor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alder Penzo. Alder Honda Smith, and then Alder Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How many people work for Oxygen?
I would say there's about 10 that I know of.
And how many people work for
Concur? Concur specifically, as a line of business at SAP, about 10,000. When we talk about SAP, the larger SAP is about 108,000, I think.
My other question for you is, why did we move out of Munis completely? It's because they wasn't in the cloud? Do you have any idea of that?
We're looking into that. It's not an easy switch. We've had a lot of opposition from employees to make a change that grand, and we're researching it, and it takes some time to make a big citywide change like that.
But I guess I wanted to add, when you're asking about getting away from Munis or stop, the city is still using Munis. It's just the Oxygen piece is addressing the invoices. I don't know if I misunderstood your question, but
you understood it correctly.
Okay.
And Munis is not able to do the invoices?
It can't do, I've had the purchasing department working since October that Munis told us that they could get the ACH payments up and running. So since October, we've been working every week, hours of our time. And then we get to the end, because now what has to be done is that when you have new vendors and new companies come on, you need to profile them, which is something that wasn't being done either. So, and profiling means you get the IRS EIN number, you get the letters of incorporation or articles of organization, you have a list from the company that they were organized through of who the representatives, the authorized representatives are for that company. And they can't do that. So they brought us all the way from October until July saying that they could do it, and then they hit enter to try to submit it, and it doesn't work. And that's what we're finding out with a lot of things that we're trying to do and move forward with Munis. It can't do what we need to do.
My last question is, can Concur guarantee that you're not going to sublease out to outside bidders in the UK or elsewhere?
yes.
Yeah, we don't do it.
Yes, we have US data centers, and then we have data centers all over for public sector entities. We can specifically say that the data needs to be hosted in the US.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Smith. And before we proceed with the next Alder on the queue, I would like to recognize our president, Alder Myers, who has joined us. Alder Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when I hear about, we're coming into the 21st century and everything, what is this going to do to labor? Because when I hear that the computer can do this, it can do that, the first thing it says to me, somebody's going to be out of a job. And so I just want to make sure that we are getting so high tech and we can have this machine do all this stuff and it eliminates 5 jobs or it eliminates 1 job. I mean, we want to be efficient, but we don't want to be so efficient that we X out people.
No, we still need the entire accounts payable team to do the invoicing and processing for the entire city, which is a team of 5 people. This is not going to eliminate anyone's job, because at the end of the day, the computer still can't think. It can't rationalize and strategize like a human being can. So it's not going to eliminate any jobs. It's actually going to make the AP department's job a lot easier and streamline a lot of things and provide financial reporting and auditing, which is something that we don't have right now.
And I'd also add on the entering of the invoices, I think that we get a lot of departments who want us to do that for them, who wants our office to do it, because it's something like it takes away from them providing service. And so we do a lot of invoice entering in our office. We're trying to get away from it because there's a lot more high value work we can do for the city that will really improve our financial and our transparency, reporting, and all of that. So I think, having our employees not entering the invoices and utilizing Concur would only be a value add to the city so that they can do higher value work.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because when I hear this, it reminds me of the grocery store. And instead of having 10 lines of people, they have 4 lines with people and the other 6 are machines. And that's jobs. We're not here to eliminate jobs. We're here to be efficient. And as long as we can use the people to support whatever that work is, I'm good with that. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Morris, and I have 2 colleagues on the queue, one going for a second time, one going for the first time. I'm going to go with the colleague who hasn't gone yet, which is, Robert's rules. So anybody else who hasn't gone yet, last call. Alder Hamilton.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Good evening, folks. Say this contract is approved, is there any offers on another 3-year deal where the city might get a discount?
Yes.
What is that?
Yes, actually, it's funny, we were discussing the pricing and we have a promotion. In addition to the discounts that have been applied just off the top, there's a promotion for new customers that SAP Concur is offering right now in exchange for a 36-month term. Concur is going to waive the first 6 months of its annual subscription. So essentially for year 1, you're only paying 50%, 6 months of the subscription rather than a full 12 months. So at all in with the discounts and the new customer promotion, it saves the city over $100,000 on the total Concur package.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Hamilton. Any other colleagues who haven't gone yet asking questions? Seeing none, Alder Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very quickly, where's Glen located?
Where is Concur? We're in Seattle, Bellevue, Washington.
Okay. This is just AP, accounts payable.
Yes.
How does this link in? So we approved something recently with credit cards, accounts receivable. So how does this, will these 2 be able to work together?
Paymentus.
Oh, you mean Paymentus? So yes, so Paymentus is actually to take in payments.
Yep.
This is to push
Receivable.
out payments.
So are they going to be able to work together at some point, or are we going to still keep 2 separate systems?
They do 2 separate things. I originally
I guess what I'm
asked.
asking is, does Concur have the ability to do accounts receivable?
We do not.
You're just accounts payable?
We're accounts payable, yes.
Okay.
And I asked Paymentus if they could do invoicing, and they said they can't.
Okay, it is one we have a
Understood.
lot of systems
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
And the goal is to be able to pay quicker. Well, it's a good thing or a bad thing. Vendors would say it's a good thing.
Treasury, maybe.
Right, so, and maybe I shouldn't answer this on the record, but do you really anticipate that we would start paying on time? Because we understand cash flow, we understand city boundaries, we understand all the invoices that are out there. And we know that we're paying people on purpose at 45 days. Is this realistic?
It is realistic because I've been working with the AP department. I meet with them every 2 weeks to gauge where they're at, how they're doing, what we could pay. We work with Treasury first to see how much money can get paid out. Some of the issues that they keep saying is that this is in the system, but we can't pay it because it's stuck in the workflow, or this person didn't approve it. So then it takes them more time to research it, see where it's at, and then send an email to another city employee or a department head to say, hey, this has been in your queue for 10 days, can you approve it? So it's eliminating all of those nuances and building automated alerts. So if something's in the workflow, if it goes from Shannon to Ron to myself, it'll alert Shannon, and then it'll alert Ron what's in his queue, and then it'll alert me. Right now, we don't have that capability to alert individual people of the steps that it's in. So now nobody knows until we actually remind them that, hey, this is in your queue.
And also,
I have a
there's
question if
I just have one more to add, if that's okay. Also, because it's a completely integrated system.
It's
right?
what?
Because it's completely integrated with everything. Every user that touches that invoice has access to see what's going on with it. So it's less questions for you guys. In other words, people aren't calling saying, oh, what's going on? They can just look at it themselves if they want to. And they're being prompted with emails as well. So there's no excuses for not knowing where everything is.
And last question, Mr. Chair. Will this handle payroll also?
No.
Just invoicing?
Invoicing, travel and expense, and yes, automating the ACH process.
Okay.
And getting rid of paper checks.
Yeah. So payroll is yet another system. Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
One thing I was just gonna add, we have a lot of partners. So everything you were talking about, the Paymentus and payroll, that we have connections with all of them and pre-built connectors with all of that stuff. So a lot of the different functions that you've been asking about, we can get some of that, fed into Concur. HR systems, ERP systems, if we need to connect. For instance, we have an ADP for payroll, pre-built connector. So if an organization wanted to reimburse employees out of, to payroll, we can send data to ADP, things like that.
Yeah, I was asking it, Mr. I think it's interesting because there are so many systems that go down in City Hall. We get emails daily about systems that are down, and we're adding yet another system to our queue. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Furlow. Further questions from colleagues? Seeing none, I'll ask a couple of questions. So my sense is if we approve this and the city moves to Concur, then the city will terminate its relationship with Oxygen,
Yes.
or whatever it's called now.
Yes.
So we'll gain a system, but we'll lose it.
Right.
We heard from the representatives from Concur that they're first in class, which I would say that too if I was selling the city system. Tell us the due diligence the city did to verify that claim.
So I could tell you personally, I have used or utilized Concur for the last 18 years at Merrill Lynch. And we never had the issues that the city had at Merrill Lynch that you guys have here. And it's very intuitive. It's very easy to learn. It's quick. There's reports. It's researchable. If you make a payment, it doesn't just disappear like how it disappears now. If you make a payment, you can still go back and look at what payments were made on what date.
So you're extolling its virtues based on your personal experience with it?
Well, I have personal experience with it as well. And we've looked at some other systems because ideally you don't want to have a fragmented system, right? Of all these different systems, talking to all these other systems. You want one comprehensive system. we haven't been able to get to that point where we could find a comprehensive system that will work for the city and work within the city's budget. So until that point in until that point in time comes, we are left trying to fix situations and issues that are that were implemented from your prior years.
So I guess let me just ask it this way. In your due diligence around this, I understand it's a little bit different of a process because you're piggybacking off of a consortium, right? So the procurement rule is a little bit different in that regard versus having multiple bidders and things like that. Did Concur come to the top because it's really the only vendor that does all the things you wanted to do, or did you look at other vendors and you decided those other vendors aren't as good? Or did somebody else do that because this was already decided by the consortium?
That I could say that we were looking at different ERP systems, and within those ERP systems had different invoicing systems. And Concur was the one that was able to just give us everything that we needed, if that helps answer your question.
It does a little bit. So my next question then, there are two things that came up that make me nervous. AI, I didn't hear those two letters, but I heard like machine learning, it's gonna figure things out. That makes me think that you're using AI. So I wanna know more about how is AI deployed and how are you gonna make sure it doesn't, like the system doesn't decide to destroy the world or something. And then the other one is cloud, which means that there's data stored virtually somewhere, not in a real space.
Sure.
It's not on a hard drive, or maybe it is. Explain to me why I shouldn't be worried about either AI being deployed or machine learning being deployed in your system, and also not be worried that all of our city's data is going to be stored on a cloud somewhere.
Do you want me to take it?
Sure.
So when SAP, we have at SAP, they have a whole initiative for AI and everything else, right? And one of the key tenets of it is responsible AI. So when people use our AI, we're only having the machine learning and data that's accessible to it within the scope of whatever you're doing. So in other words, it becoming sentient and being Skynet's not going to happen because it's looking at invoices and stuff. And to tell you how it kind of benefits you ultimately, with our capture tool as an example, Terry was talking about how it does pixelations, great templates and stuff. A lot of these other platforms, if you want to do automated capture of the data coming in on an emailed invoice or something like that, you have to put together templates to recognize like where the PO number is, where the invoice, and you don't have to do that with ours. Ours just figures it out. And that saves you a lot more time. So that's how we're using the AI. We're not using it to like replace people's thinking. It's more like that kind of like work that you don't want people to spend a lot of time doing because they can do higher value stuff.
So if the machine figures out where the data are, the different data fields are in a form, maybe it's an unusual form, it creates a ticket or a record or an item in the system. Does then a person have to go in and double check that and verify before it gets sent off?
There's two things you can do there.
I was going to say, ultimately, yes. It's, the invoice will get routed to the invoice owner. They will look at the invoice to make sure that, okay, yes, this is mine, it belongs to me, I need to approve this. And they can look to verify the data that's on there. I mentioned earlier, with the technology we have a 98% accuracy rate. So it's pulling all of the data using the 5 layers of technology, but it's very rarely incorrect. But the user does have the ability to manually go in and change that field and update that field. And what the AI is doing is when it's reading the document, it's looking for the data, and then it takes what it finds and it puts it in the field that it's configured for. It's not, doing anything or replacing anybody or that type of thing. It's not that type of AI.
Making ACH deposits in some companies.
No,
AI, twice as big as they're
AI doesn't touch that part of the system. Okay. There's no AI in that. It's literally for data capture. Okay. That's it.
You were going to say something about cloud, I think.
I was going to say something about cloud. We do want to place as much of the city's data in the cloud. And in the cloud, it's It's an ominous term. A lot of people use it in different respects, but basically, we're purchasing a portion of a data center that is managed by Microsoft or Amazon or Google.
We're Amazon.
Yeah, we're Amazon.
And so our servers that are going to run Concur would be in that data center, and those servers are managed by their technical staff. Part of the issue is if
I'm going to interrupt you real quick and say that there's someone whispering in the audience, and I would like them to stop. Please continue.
part of and that also provides us resiliency in systems. And so if systems go down here or something goes wrong within our data center, the Amazon data center is always up and running. Plus our data is backed up in multiple data centers. So if their data center goes down, we switch to another data center in the US. So it does provide us resiliency when we move forward, when we bring our strategy of having the systems up 24 hours a day, not only for our employees, but for our residents. And that's something important that we want to achieve going forward with our initiative.
These centers are secure.
Very secure. They're more secure than what we have here. And nothing, and I'll say it, nothing is impenetrable. You know, people are getting hacked all the time, but we're pretty confident that with the special government reporting that they also do, that it goes through a national security test also. And they provide us with the reporting, what is called the SOC 2 report, which is a standard industry type of reporting on data centers and data center processing.
We have SOC 2, PCI, we also have FedRAMP compliance, so yeah, we have all those.
You have a whole host of acronyms.
Lots of acronyms.
That seem to imply security.
You want more?
Otherwise, I have no
I was
idea what you
just
just
gonna
said.
say, if you want to read more about security, slide or page 37.
Page
lists
37.
All of them. And if you wanted to do some late night reading after this meeting, you can go
We have our
to
sleep.
the SAP Trust Center is open to the public. You can go and look at all of our verifications and security.
Great, thank you very much. Further questions from colleagues on this important item? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for your time.
And you may be dismissed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
There's several other items, so it'll be some time before we get to a vote on this item number 1. So you're welcome to stay for that. If you got to go, we may be. As the presenters are finding their seats, let me just ask if there's a member of the public who wishes to testify on this item. For a second time, is there a member of the public here who wishes to testify on this item? And for a third time, anyone here from the public wishing to testify on this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll move to item 2, which concerns another multi-year contract with an outside company to provide software services for the Board of Education. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. When you are settled, we would ask for your name and address. Do you have any paper to give us?
No.
No paper, okay.
Good evening, Dr. Paul White, 170 Osborne Avenue, New Haven.
Welcome, Dr. White. The floor is yours.
Okay, so Power School is our student information system. It's the backbone of all that we keep on student records. It's the transcripts, it's their grades, it's their attendance, behavior, logs, everything. And Power School is the standard that's used in reports up to the state. It connects with all the different reports that we have to put out over the course of the year. And then it ties into the other systems where you get your parent link messages from if you still have kids in the system. And then the other units of it include our teacher evaluation platform. So when we're evaluating a teacher, they upload their evidence, we upload our observations, put that together, have the conversation, and then all of that, again, is something else that gets reported to the state over the course of the year. And so it's the backbone of all of our information systems.
Thank you for that, very concise. Can you just let us know, is this a new vendor or is this an existing relationship?
It's an existing relationship. We've had Power School for decades.
I've heard of Power School, I didn't know if the company providing Power School.
No, this is just the company connected to provide the pricing and the structure for it.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're going to throw this open to questions from colleagues of Dr. White on this item. Questions from colleagues? Alder Smith.
Is, you're asking for a reoccurrence? What are we asking for here?
It's a 3-year, I believe it's 3-year renewal of the product.
And it's the same company?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Smith. Further questions from colleagues on this item? Alder Hamilton.
Good evening, Dr. White.
Good evening.
Have we saved any money, so far? This is a renewal of this contract.
Right. I don't have those numbers from me, but again, as it being the backbone, realistically, there are 2 companies that basically manage student management system. The 2, Power School and Infinite Campus, are the largest vendors for this work. And one of the things within Power School include the intuitiveness of it, and as well as the linking to all the reporting that we're required to do financially, state reporting, all of that comes through the system. So, but I'd have to look to see if there's been any saving, but of course, that realistically, there are only 2 major companies doing this work.
Them or the other guy?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Hamilton. Further questions from colleagues? Alder Hunter.
Will the cost of the program still be, that's listed here, about 1.7 million for the, what is it, 5 years?
Yeah.
5 years.
5 years, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Hunter. Further questions from colleagues? I'll ask a question. In the materials that were provided to us, we have a chart that shows the cost breakdown by year, and then also the cost breakdown by different portions of the system. The teacher evaluation, the enrollment registration, the e-collect forms, the SIS hosting cloud, and the SIS maintenance and support. And each of those groupings of numbers, there's stated savings. So for example, $13,400 for perform the teacher evaluation component, and so on and so on. And so that's it right there. I don't know if you can speak to those, like what produced those savings? How did those savings come about?
That I'd have to get back to you with the answer of how it came out. I believe it is because we have purchased so many additional units into the system, but I can confirm that and provide an answer.
So it's some kind of discount they're giving based on volume or something.
Exactly.
Well, I would like to have that information, so we'll follow up on that. Further questions from colleagues? Colleague is approaching.
Sorry.
Name and address for the record.
Sure. Christine Board, Budget Director, 17 Red Orange Road in Middletown. And so what we did this year, Power School was housed in several different departments. So we pulled them together and got that discount. There were 3 separate contracts that we made a conscious effort this year to pull all like contracts together and renegotiate them as a group rather than individual departments. And that's how the savings came about.
So the board then had multiple contracts with Power School.
For
So the
the
different
pieces.
functions.
And consolidated into one contract
Yes.
for all the different services.
Yes,
And that's where the savings came from.
correct.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. Further questions from colleagues on this item? Seeing none, thank you for your time. You were dismissed.
We're coming back.
You're coming back. Well,
Stay right here.
just stay right here for a moment. Is there a member of the public who wishes to testify on this item, the proposed renewal, a 5-year renewal of an existing contract, a consolidated agreement with Power School, the company that provides Power School. Any member of the public wishing to testify? And for a third time, is there a member of the public wishing to testify on this item? Seeing none, we're going to proceed in our agenda. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are passing over item 3, which is not ready to go. And so now we're going to look at item 4, which is an ordinance amendment to appropriate ordinance number 2, assignment of $3 million to the general fund balance for educational purposes. Are you all going to speak about the next item as well, the $8 million?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't we do them together?
Okay.
So
So,
I'm glad to hear about both.
do you want my name and address?
We would love that.
Shannon McHugh, Budget Director, 295 Orange Oak Road.
Why don't we do all the introductions?
Dr. Paul White, 170 Osborne Avenue, New Haven. Chief of School Operations.
I'm Karen, I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Board of Education, 54 Middle Street.
And I'm Christine Gordon, Business Director, Board of Education, 17 Red Orange Road in Middletown.
Well, the first ordinance that I'd like to talk about is about assigning $3 million in additional state aid to assigned general fund balance. We had done that in 2025, where we had taken a portion of our unassigned general fund balance and we assigned it for educational purposes. This is a tool that lots of municipalities use in order to make sure that they have sufficient financial cushion to handle what, when there might be a shortfall, or it might be some overspending or fiscal pressure in general. There's many municipalities within the state of Connecticut that use it as a tool, including Greenwich and Norwalk. So what we would do is just, it's considered assigned. It means we're flagging it that that money would be available in the event that the Board of Education has a deficit in the general fund. And we had done it in fiscal 2025. We're still waiting to see, we haven't closed out the year to see how much of that we will draw upon. But the funds are there as cushion. If there is no deficit, we don't use those funds. They would stay within the general fund balance. But it's, one, it's being very transparent of where we think, we might need additional funds. And, we're about to go to the rating agencies because we're going to issue bonds. And I think this is one of the things that I point out to them all the time is if we do have a draw on general fund balance in 2025, we have signaled that that might be the case. That is planned. We're not, surprised. We were trying, we saw that there could be some fiscal pressure and we had a plan in place so that we could absorb that fiscal pressure. So I think from a transparency perspective, one, when it's time to talk to the rating agency, this comes in very handy because I could say, I already told you that we may use this money. We knew this ahead of time. We're planning, we're using our resources wisely. And then if we don't have a deficit, it stays within the general fund balance. So that is a tool that we're using, and we believe there's some fiscal pressure in fiscal 26 as well. We did receive additional state aid of $3 million, and we thought this was the best use of these funds for the fiscal 2026 year.
And the $8 million?
The $8 million, that was, we received an additional allocation for grants for municipal projects. So in our budget, we had, the state had proposed their budget. We had planned to receive $2.2 million each year. So for 2026 and 2027, we had assumed that we would have $2.5 million each year. The state stepped up and they added $8 million. So it'll be $8 million in 2026 and $8 million in 2027. So that's a significant increase in the amount of funds available for capital projects. So in this ordinance, we are recommending reallocating those funds so that we do not have to, we could basically realign what funds what projects we fund with bond proceeds and which projects we fund with this additional municipal grant funds. Now, the thing is, with these municipal grants, we couldn't do it carte blanche. You couldn't just take $8 million and put it wherever you wanted to. The projects that we fund have to be eligible under the grants for municipal projects. And I did check with the state, and they said, under no certain circumstances can you bear off of that. So what we can use these for are things like roads, paving, infrastructure, things like that. And then they had to have at least, I believe it was a 10-year amortization. You know, it's an asset that would, it wouldn't just be a 5-year, it would be like computers or something like that, it'd be something durable. So what we did is we have reallocated those funds and offset how much of the bond, how much of the bond proceeds we would use for various projects. So under the rules of the municipal aid, we were able to allocate $2 million for public works to use the state aid instead of the city bonds. We were able to use $2 million for Parks Department capital budgets and $1.6 million for engineering and $400,000 for economic development. And that allowed us to reallocate funds for various projects. So based on the mayor's recommendation, we added, look at this right, $2 million to rolling stock because there's pressure on rolling stock. We need to order new fire trucks, things like that, which are very expensive. And so this additional funding in rolling stock will help offset some of those vehicle costs. And then we have reassigned some of the bond proceeds for street trees, you know, rather than use bond proceeds, we use the state municipal aid. And then the same for public works. We'll save some of that bond proceeds for those projects. And then we reallocated those. So part of the reallocation, like I said, was rolling stock. The recommendation is to reallocate $4 million for the Board of Education for school projects. And then the rest of it was for parks and public works.
Great. Thank you for explaining all that. Anything else that you all wish to add to that explanation? It's fine if you don't, because maybe during the questions you'll feel the need.
I mean, yeah, I'd rather wait for questions, you know, regarding to $3 million and then we can have that conversation, right?
Thank you very much. Just so colleagues, we're talking about two items here, items 4 and 5. Item 4 is the $3 million of additional money from the state that the administration proposes not to add to our general fund budget, but to add to our fund balance and to designate it for educational uses in the case that there could be an overage in the current fiscal year, like we did last year. Last year we took existing fund balance and designated. This time we're taking money from the state and plopping it into the fund balance.
Yes.
But it's not increasing the size of our budget, and it's not increasing the minimum contribution we need for next year. The second one, we got $8 million for projects. The city said, well, let's use that $8 million for things we've already proposed, and then that frees up $8 million, which you could decide to bond less. You could decide that, but the city's not proposing that. The city's proposing, let's put the extra money into these things that our budget director has laid out. So that's the two items that we're going to discuss. The queue is open. Questions from committee members. Alder Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all for coming. It seems like the Board of Education seems to be always getting to a deficit. From 2025, we had to use money to bond them out. Have anyone ever think about doing a forensic audit on the Board of Education to figure out why we're getting all of these deficits? I think that would be good instead of us issuing money to where we don't really know where we need to issue the money to and why they're failing. And keep going into these deficits. And also, is there a plan for 5 years that the Board of Education may have so that they don't have to go onto these pitfalls, right? and fall down so that they can level themselves out. I would love to hear about that. And for with the second question, or the third one, where I see the Board of Education, we're doing from the fund balance, well, this was the fund balance, but for the general, another 4 million. So that means, would that be a total of 7 million that we give into the Board of Education?
Well, 3 million in operation that could be available to fund operations, but 4 million that would be available for physical infrastructure, which would be more like bonding.
My question is, did you ever decided to do or think about doing a forensic audit to find out where the pitfalls are at?
Whenever there's concerns about what's happening financially and you want answers, that is a perfectly reasonable solution. We have an internal auditor now. The city had not had one for quite some time, and they are doing really, really wonderful work. They started, with the health department. It's certainly something to think about. I mean, if you need information and you need to find ways to do things differently, that is a perfectly logical place to start. Now, I don't have, the Board of Education is managed independently. We work together, but, I can't say that I have direct oversight over the Board of Education. I do think that we try to partner as much as possible and find solutions and find answers. Could we strengthen that? Sure. I mean, if we really want to improve the financial results, then that seems like a perfectly logical thing to do.
Thank you for answering that question for me. I really appreciate it. I think that would be the perfect start. And that would allow us as a board to really figure out, maybe it's not 3 million, maybe it's, some other things that you may need help with, and to strengthen your organization or the Board of Education so that all of the children can benefit from it, so that everybody can benefit fairly. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Alder Smith. The queue is open. Further questions from colleagues on these two items, the 3 million and the 8 million. Alder Walker-Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When you were speaking about this potential 3 million, did you say you don't believe it'll have a negative effect on our bonding? When we talk to the
there's two issues. So there's 3 million for operational uses, and that is what we propose assigning in the general fund balance. Yeah. If we don't have a deficit, it'll stay in the general fund balance. So that's operational. The other additional money that we got from the state for state grants for municipal purposes has to be used for capital. And there's a lot of caveats, like you can't just do what you want with it. It has to be for like certain infrastructure projects with you're building an asset that will last.
I'm sorry, I'm asking the question the wrong way, because I'm talking about, so the city normally, we go out, we're rated by bonding agencies, how well we're doing. And what I thought I heard you say was that we're signaling them that we potentially will have this issue. So you think that would have, you don't think that would have a negative impact, I guess is my question. I'm asking.
Well, I mean, obviously,
or does it?
If you didn't have pressure from the Board of Education, that would be better, right? But we do believe that when we met for the budget hearings, the state aid has been it's been flat for quite some time. And so there've been challenges with keeping up, salaries keep increasing, inflation's increasing, and we've had that issue with flat state funding for quite some time. So the pressure's there. This doesn't make the pressure go away, but it makes us more transparent. Like we are acknowledging that there is potential for a deficit, right? We're signaling. We're like, we know that there's pressure here. We're putting money aside. We're trying to be proactive. We're not just waiting for a deficit. I know, like I used to be a rating analyst, and I know that was one of the things I'd say, you'd go to a rating committee and you'd say, oh, they're probably going to have a deficit, but they were looking forward. They knew this at the beginning of the year. They set money aside for this. They're planning through this. They're working through this. So in that way, it shows that we're being proactive and thinking about these things. We won't be, just, I don't know, I have a deficit. We know that there's pressure.
I guess I know we can't have a definite answer to that, but I mean, will it or won't it have a negative impact on that?
I think the pressure is a negative, right? Like there's pressure. And when Wall Street and rating analysts look at that, they're looking for areas of pressure. But what we're showing is that we're being proactive. Like, we're thinking about this. We want to make this better. And I think, carefully looking at the finances and looking for efficiencies and looking for ways where we can save money will absolutely help as well.
Okay, and I'm only asking because over the course of years, we have done some things that made us look very favorable, like when we put more money into pensions and things like that.
Yes.
So that's why I'm asking. I just want to have a realistic picture about what we're doing and the positive or negative effect. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Myers. Next on the queue is Alder Fairlow, and after that, the queue's open.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your presentation. Chief Financial Officer, welcome to this madness, brand new. And it is madness. It just baffles my mind that we can be millions of dollars in deficit and not know it. And so I want to start off by saying that I appreciate your commitment to really pull this together and so that we can have some real numbers to understand where we are in moving forward. But as I'm looking at this letter, because it's a little bit different than what's been said previously, this is like $2 million here, there, and everywhere. So it was my assumption that this would go basically towards retaining teachers, but this really just has everything. So before this money is released, how can we know where this $3 million is going towards? We just cannot, well, let me not say we. I will not be in favor of just releasing funds for whatever purpose, unless we can figure out where this is going to.
May I say something? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, you're not wrong. It is for retaining teachers because the effect that not having the funding available will have is that we're going to have to go back again to the table and then look at, personnel cost. We were able to mitigate all the way to how far we got, and the last time we met, we got all the way to having a $3.8 million deficit that we still have to mitigate. We got that far by using vacant positions and freezing them, eliminating some of them. But now we are at a point that now it could be real personnel, it could be real active employees that could be affected if we don't have a mitigation plan, which includes these $2 million. Because at this point, there's no other programming that we can cut. There's no other areas that we can cut without really impacting, the children in a very negative way. Even though even personnel is also as dangerous and as it will impact children negatively as much. But now at this point, we are right at that line where not having this funding will then impact the staffing of the school. So you are not wrong that this funding will help save and protect and preserve the staffing, the facing children staffing that we have in the schools right now.
Thank you. And so my final question, I'm just wondering, and I think I asked this when we did it the last time, but how is this money drawn down? How was it decided?
So for FY25, that money is still sitting in our fund balance. We don't have our final end of the year number. When we have our final end of the year number, which we will have soon, once we close out all the purchase orders and encumbrances, we will see whether or not we're going to have a surplus or a deficit overall in the general fund. If there's a deficit in the general fund, and if there is, it would likely be caused by the Board of Education, because we know that there were issues, pressures. Then we would draw down, that money would cover the shortfall. So it basically would be booked as like revenue to cover the expenditures. It would come out of the general fund. The general fund balance it's currently $56.8 million. That will go down by $3 million.
I'll yield, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Sure.
Just to follow up on that, my understanding is that whatever needs to be drowned down to $3 million would have to be requested as a transfer from the Board of Alders, right? Because the budget would end up being.
Oh,
different.
yes, it would come in the.
So it has to be a
Yes,
transfer,
yes,
just like every year end. There's a transfer.
exactly.
So we've assigned that money, we've kind of designated it, but we have not added it to the budget. And so you would still have to
Do that process.
amend the ordinance
Yes.
to make sure that the final results are in the law and not just in the books. So that's your understanding as well?
Yes,
And that would apply for this next year, for this 3 million year.
yes, it would function the same way.
By this time next year, if you decide you need some of these monies or all these monies, that would also have to be a transfer requested from the Board of Alders.
That is correct. Which, behooves us to find efficiencies and find better ways of doing things.
And again, this is like a contingency plan, right? So I have my commitment and my heart, like, out there right now. Like, I'm working extremely hard to find ways to find efficiencies and improve areas that I've already identified that I can, give you a few highlights, some areas that I definitely will yield some savings. And maybe at the end of the year, we don't have to, tap into that $2 million. I can't make that commitment right now, but I have to really trust that the process that I'm embarking right now will yield some results that will bring some efficiencies into our spending, into our revenue recognition, and I hope that it will definitely get us to a much better place than we are right now. Definitely, because most of the issues that I've seen thus far have to do with some spending controls in one area and then special education on the other side, which that one is tricky because that one it requires some state legislation to support a little bit more these efforts. And then just creating a multi-year capital improvement plan, which I'm working together with Dr. White to make the puzzle together that can help us really have a better maintenance and capital improvement plan in place, as opposed to just putting band-aids and emergency expenses, which is what I've seen in the past few months. So there are definitely some opportunities that I'll be working on that hopefully will get us to a place where I don't have to go shout and be like, hey, we need those $2 million. Hopefully we'll be at a better place.
Thank you for that additional information. Next on the queue is Alder Punzo.
Thank you. Just to piggyback on Alder Furlow's question, the $3 million, you said it'd be used for personnel, basically?
Well, because it's at the end of the year that we will be able to request this funding. It will be to cover any potential deficit that we may or may not have at the end of the year. But the conversation about the staffing is only because if we don't have that contingency plan in place right now, which is what the request is being made now, we would have to, in order for us to present a balanced budget, we will have to then go back to the drawing table and be like, how do we cut $3 million of expenses right now? Not at the end of the year, but right now. And then right now, the answer will be, we will have to then let go of some layoff personnel. And in order to avoid that, we need this commitment of this contingency plan in place. So that way we could continue moving forward without having to touch any of the active personnel right now. And that's the reasoning behind it. At the end of the year, the money will just definitely go to cover the deficit, but in a way, directly and indirectly at the same time, it really saved personnel. Because that will be the decision we'll have to make today if we didn't have that commitment.
Thank you. I understand it better now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Punzo. Further questions from colleagues on these items? Further questions? Just a couple from me. Just reading the resolution, and the verbiage is assigned to the general fund balance for educational purposes.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
And so that's like what the legislation does.
Yes.
What happens to the 3 million or portion thereof that is not used?
It would stay in the general fund.
That part I get, but it's been by legislation assigned for
Yes.
educational
It would have
purposes.
to
When would that assignment be
Unassigned?
unassigned? Would it have to be, would it just have, because it doesn't say for this period of time. To me, it seems like if we wanted to reassign it, we would have to take affirmative action. What's your opinion on what happens to unused funds that have been assigned for this particular purpose?
I think we can discuss, we could put in another ordinance and move it to unassigned fund balance to keep it within the, that portion and not assign it for education. Like if we're not comfortable that, because then it would grow, right? So if we do 3 million this year and we do 3 million last year, that would be 6.
Yeah.
There's probably, we're waiting to see if we're going to use 2025s. If we're not going to use 2025s, we can deal with that in the end of year transfer, where we transfer it back to unassigned.
Okay.
I think that would probably make the most sense because we'll be coming to you with all of the,
Right.
the transfers.
The final results.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We
Well,
could add language to that effect in this current years.
well, we'll contemplate that.
Okay.
But, now that this is the second year in a row that we could be
Right.
doing it, if you don't use all of the 3 million for the last fiscal year, you might have 3 million plus. And then that's a bigger cushion. And then maybe then the pressures start to feel different.
Right.
Like there's less pressure to do what you're hoping to do. If suddenly your cushion is 4.725 million as opposed to 3.
But it does say for fiscal 25, 26 in the ordinance, which would mean.
Right, when we close.
Well, is it in the whereas clause or is it in the effective clause?
I'm looking at the letter, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. You have, whenever you look at the legislation, you got to look at the resolution.
Okay.
Because the letter is not binding, it's
Oh.
explicative. But it's the actual resolution that is what we're doing here.
Yes, it does say it.
Does it? Okay. But where does it say?
It says whereas the city.
Well, so that's a whereas clause. So that indicates intent, but
Okay.
I probably would want to put it in the effective clause.
Okay, I think it is.
Okay. Well, we'll think among ourselves if we want to
Okay.
tidy it up a bit. But I also like your idea about the year-end transfer, dealing with the issue of assigned funds that were not actually needed.
Yes.
That's something worth thinking about and maybe doing something about. My next question then is, I can understand why we want to take that 8 million and use it for what can be used for, and then see that we're saving $8 million, but then find ways to spend it. Because there's lots of needs. But did the administration consider just reducing the total amount that we're borrowing from 60 million to 52 million?
I believe that the capital, there's quite a bit of need for the capital budget. When we were going through the capital budget and we received all the requests for funding, we were not able to provide, say, rolling stock with enough funds, or engineering and parks. So we had to make decisions based on how much, a $60 million bond. So we made decisions and we made haircuts and things of that nature. We do know, for instance, like rolling stock, like there is a need there. There's a great need for that funding. We also know that, school facilities also need to be addressed. We need to keep those up. So the thought was that this was an opportunity to be able to do those things without increasing our debt, what's the word?
Debt service.
Debt level. At the same time, when we issued these $60 million bonds, we're having the bond kickoff next week. So a lot of work will begin with that. We are doing a refunding. So we've been working with our financial advisor to make sure that we can do as many refundings as we can. So we have about $35 million that will be part of the bond, the upcoming bond issuance, for not new money, for refunding. And that will generate, at this point, based on market conditions, about $3 million in savings. We also have refunding to plan for 27 and 28 for similar savings. We're doing everything we can to bring that number down, to save money on interest and to bring our debt service numbers down over the years.
So you're not doing everything that you could do. Because one thing you could do, and I'm just being devil's advocate.
Okay.
One thing you could do is say, we're going to reduce the borrowing from 60 million to 52 million, which is a meaningful amount of money. Since we moved to an every other year capital cycle, we've seen our debt service payments look better in the future than what we had originally thought they would be.
Right.
But they still gobble up a huge chunk of our general fund budget every year.
Right.
right? Debt service, pension payments, healthcare, and there's certain structural costs that just gobble up everything, and then you can't spend money on the actual services. So here's an opportunity to reduce what we're gonna borrow and have some effect on our debt service going forward.
I would argue that deferring capital causes problems down the line. I believe that if you defer capital too long and you're not taking care of all of, we had a huge school construction project, where the school rebuilt many of the schools. If you don't keep up that capital asset and that physical asset over time, it's just gonna cost more money. And the same thing, like the fire truck situation it's a really important need of the city. It's something we have to address. We have to get those fire trucks ordered. We need new, and I think Justin sat down and he could probably give you a little bit more, more detail about the needs, but those needs are significant and they're real. We've cut back on some of the fleet maintenance over the years, and this would be the chance for us to make it, get back to where we needed to be. I don't know.
Well, so thanks for that. I do see that our chief administrative officer and our city engineer have come forward when we started talking about not borrowing $8 million. Boom, they come up to join us. Why don't you give us your names and addresses for that?
Justin McCarthy, Chief Administrative Officer, 569 Orange Street.
Giovanni Zinn, 95 Soundview Terrace. You did combine the two items. We did not want to talk about the $3 million.
Oh, yeah, we're talking about it.
So please talk.
Yes, I would happily discuss some rolling stock issues. So rolling stock comes under our purview. In the CAO's office, I've been working with Shannon, I've been working with Steve Winter, as well as our fleet mechanics to decide the hierarchy of purchasing of rolling stock. And I think during budget cycle, we came up and we spoke extensively about the condition of our rolling stock. One of the things that happened in roughly 2016, we purchased a lot of plow trucks. Those plow trucks are now coming up on 10 years old. They have a 10-year life. We are starting to put a lot of money into repairs. Trash trucks, even bigger. We currently have a fleet of about 12 trash trucks. Those trash trucks are in excess of 10 years old in many cases. They're on the road every single day. At one point this year, we had 5 out of 12 trash trucks down for repairs, and we were doing double routes. So many of you probably saw that, where your trash was getting picked up later in the day. That was the result of them being down. We actually currently are, we're renting a trash truck to offset some of those challenges. So one of the first priorities was trash trucks. To Shannon's point, the other big elephant in the room is the added cost and delays in purchases of fire trucks. So when I was the assistant chief, a fire engine was still under $1 million. Not the case anymore. So a fire engine is what I'm waiting on final pricing. Actually, right now it's been requested since the capital money is there. I'm waiting for them to get back to us. They told us figure on 1.2 for the fire engine, and the ladder trucks are in excess of 2. The build times are 36 to 48 months on those, and there is state statute as to how long a fire truck can stay on the road. So that 4-year build time puts us right in the dire straits period, right? So we're hitting the sweet spot now, and we are kind of breaking even. God forbid we have a fire truck that becomes inoperable for whatever reason, but we are like right there in the sense that in 4 years when we take delivery, we will be aging out fire trucks statutorily to be on the road, and that's why it's so vital. And that's why this money for reallocation of, or the allocation, I should say, of these funds to rolling stock, and I can only speak right now to rolling stock, is so vital to make sure that our fleet stays viable and safe for the employees and to provide the service. And I'll turn it over to my partner over there at the other end of the table to speak on the engineering.
Sure. I mean, the sort of basic purpose of the municipal projects fund from the state is for infrastructure. And as you know, we do a lot of infrastructure. We're doing more, we have 7 sidewalk crews working in the city right now, which is the most that we've ever had. Working with RAC, we identify a lot of priorities. So that's one opportunity to continue to replace some of the most basic infrastructure that our residents ask us about. Also, it's a very useful tool for matching other grants because this is, so it's fairly restricted money. It's for infrastructure, but in my world, it's also pretty widely available. It has it pretty broad in that it's not for a specific street and a specific project. So it is useful for matching other sources of funds. So a dollar assigned to infrastructure out of this funding can become, $5. So for example, we talked about, the Mill River Trail project, the Church Street South project a couple months ago at CSEP, and I believe it's not this committee. The matching funds for that, so the 20% of that we have to put up comes from this fund. And that's a way to then be able to really focus the local dollars, the capital dollars we bond for locally, on the things our residents ask us for most, which I don't have to tell you, but are sidewalks and speed humps, right? So that is it's a big benefit to us that the state allocated this extra money. I think the way that we're moving the money around to make sure we can take care of the other needs of the city while not shortchanging, and in fact adding a bit of funding to the infrastructure of the city is something that makes a lot of sense long term. I really want to echo what the budget director said about capital costs just increasing as you push them out. One of the other roles I have is the chair of citywide school construction, and for sure there are a lot of capital needs that the Board of Ed brings to that body that are beyond what their current funding allocation is for, and those numbers will just grow in the future if those problems aren't addressed now.
Thank you for that additional information. Any further questions from colleagues on these two items, the 3 million and the 8 million? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation. You are dismissed. And we'll see if there's a member of the public who wishes to testify on either of these items. And for a second time, is there a member of the public who wishes to testify on either of these two items? And for a third time, is there a member of the public who wishes to testify on these two items? Please come forward. Seeing none, we are now going to proceed with our final two items. And now we'll beckon our Director of Management, Budget, and Grants to come back because it's the monthly financial reports for May and June 2025. May and June 2025. So you got a chance to stretch your legs, get a few steps.
I brought the first 3 pages.
Okay, you have paper for us, so please make sure we all get it. I'll take that. And one copy for Don if you have. Oh, this is the monthly financial. Yes, you do. Names and addresses for the record, please, and then the floor is yours.
Shannon McHugh, Budget Director, 295 Oregon Road, Waterbury.
Ron Gizzi, 219 Rainbow Terrace, Hampton.
Okay, well, I'm going to focus on the June because it's more timely. So as of June, I bring my reading glasses, but we were projecting a deficit in the general fund of $1.6 million. And then we were projecting a deficit in the medical fund of about $3.9 million and workers' comp of about $427,000. So altogether, the deficit that's projected is about $6 million. So when you go to page 3, it lists all these variances on the expenditure side. And you can see, and at this point, the education estimate was provided from the report from May, so that the education estimate was not updated at the point that we released this report. So you can see the variances, the negatives, and the positives as of June, and all in all, you can see the difference between May to June, and it was about $2.8 million on the expenditure side. And then on the revenue side, we had collected $4.5 million more than the budget. And a lot of that was driven by the investment income. We had budgeted about $1.7 million in investment income, and it came in about $4.8 1.85. And then the you see on page 4, the other license permits and fees, we were up about $2.8 million. And that was mainly because of building permits. The building permit activity was up quite a bit. So at that point in time, we were projecting a $1.6 million deficit in the general fund. The litigation fund, we do believe that will be balanced. It does require a little bit of a transfer from the general fund to cover everything we paid out. That's built into the projection there. And then the medical fund, we were over the medical fund. A couple things, we looked at claim activity month over month, and it was a little bit higher. And that has to do with people's health and people's claims. So that did exceed the budget, or the budgeted revenue. I think it's going to be, I did take notes on where it is currently. The health fund is going to be, the deficit will be about $3.9 million as of my last update. So that, that is a pressure. It's a pressure not just for New Haven, but across the board. The rates keep increasing. And you can't really control the amount of claims you have each year. We did increase in the 2026 budget to account for those rising increases. Also on the latest read, I did see that interest income on investments actually came in about $4.9 million over budget, and the building permit revenue came in $3.5 million over budget. So those were some positive highlights. The expenditures, it's a little bit hard to project exactly where we're going to end on expenditures because of the number of encumbrances and outstanding POs that are still open. As of August 22nd, those will be cleared out. So that is where we stand on year-end results at the moment. Just jumping in, I could give you a little more information beyond it.
Thank you for that presentation. We appreciate it. The floor is open now for questions from colleagues. Questions about the financial reports and the summary that our staff have given us. Alder Smith.
Thank you. I see in the rainy day fund that we have replenished it. It's 0. Page 3. The rainy day fund, it's 0.
Rainy day replenishment. What is that?
It's right after the master lease.
Oh, yes. We didn't have a rainy day fund. So there's no variance.
Yes.
We have the expenditure reserve in the FY26 budget, and for 2025, there was no set aside.
It's just another name for fund balances or anything fund.
You could have taken that one out. I didn't do so.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Smith. Further questions from colleagues on this information? Further questions from colleagues? My colleagues are busily looking at the numbers and adding them up in their head. Make sure that they add up correctly. That would be fast, wouldn't it? I guess I'll ask a question until someone else wants to. So based on the summary on the first page, page 2, there was a $1.672 million deficit as of right now.
I would say as of right now, as of the end of June.
As of the end of June,
Yes.
as of this report.
Right.
Which is not the end of the fiscal year because a lot of things happen
Right.
even after July 1st rolls around.
Yes.
But let's just pretend for a moment that it was. You would use then $1.672 million of the assigned money
Yes.
from $3 million,
Yes.
and then the other 1.387 could potentially be reassigned.
Yes.
This returns us to our prior topic.
Well, yes, but when
If this were the final number, which it's not.
right, but then we'd still have to cover the medical fund.
Yeah, so it's funny because the medical balance right now is $4.3 million.
Yes, the fund balance could cover.
So it could, but
Yeah.
you might decide, well, we don't want it to.
Right, exactly.
So then that would be part of
The end of the year.
the end of the year transfer and taking through all of that.
Yes.
Because that's not an operational fund per se.
Right.
Okay. So there's decisions that can be made. I mean, some of it's just black and white. If there's money that you had to pay, you didn't have it in the budget, you have to
Yes.
increase the budget to pay for it.
Right.
But there are other decisions you can make with the medical, for example.
Yes.
But you wouldn't use the 3 million, well, you could use a portion of the 3 to deal with the Board of Education deficit, which would then free money up to deal with the medical, I suppose.
That's correct.
You could do that.
Yes.
It's
But
just
I
trying to
think-
understand the moving pieces here.
Right, but I think since the Board of Alders agreed, approved it for educational purposes, we'd have to go back.
We'd have to do that, yeah. Questions from colleagues? I see none. I'll just ask one more then, which is, you said earlier that you anticipate being able to close the books on last fiscal year fairly soon.
Yes.
How soon would that be?
We're going to cancel all the POs and encumbrances on August 22nd, and then we'll get a really clear number.
Mhm. So we might expect in September to receive a communication with the year-end transfers,
Yes.
and then we could hear it in October, for example, or maybe even September, depending on how
I
soon
think
we get it.
sooner rather than later, so the audit can move forward.
That's right.
As efficiently.
So maybe even in our September meeting. we could look at
Yes.
that. Great. We would look forward to that. Further questions from colleagues? Alder Frill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a quick question. We're on budget, we've been on budget last couple for May and June with parking meters and parking tags. Page 4.
I believe there's a positive variance there, I don't know why it's showing up. I can double check that. Or maybe there is no variance, and that's why it's not flagging. Because this just shows variance to budget.
Okay. Can you just, Mr. Chair, through you?
Yes.
Just verify.
We'll verify that parking tag number.
Yeah, but usually when there's a 0, there's no major variance to budget, but I can confirm that.
But where are?
Extra parking?
Yes.
Well, they were approved in this year's budget.
Right,
not last
right.
year's budget.
Oh, that's true, that's true.
It is based on an estimate though, like, you have to kind of project out, before the year closes, where you think the revenue would come up. And, based on that projection, which is hard to, project the future, I made the assertion that I believe that the revenues would come in on target.
Okay. Mr. Chair, maybe that might be good enough. And then we'll circle back.
We'll see more in the year.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Further questions from colleagues? Further questions from colleagues? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation this evening. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Is there a member of the public who wishes to testify on these monthly financial reports? And for a second time, is there a member of the public here who wishes to testify on the monthly financial reports for May and for June? And for a third time, is there a member of the public here wishing to testify on these items? Alder DeCole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we close the public portion of this meeting.
Second.
A motion has been made to close the public portion. It's been seconded. Any discussion of that motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion carries. The public portion, I believe you meant to say aye? Aye. Okay. The public portion has been unanimously voted to be closed. Alder DeCole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move favorably item 1.
Second.
Item 1 has been moved favorably and seconded. Discussion of the motion. Alder DeCole.
Mr. Chair, I think this concurrent technology seems like a positive thing for paying our bills. And it looks like we're going to get a good deal out of it moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder DeColo. Further discussion on item 1. Alder Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also speak in favor of this item, giving a recommendation to the board from the 676725, with the numbers that were quoted to us on the services that we're using. It appears that over a length of time, it will be a savings to the city. And it just makes sense to go with a company that is US based. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder. Further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. Alder DeColo.
Chair, I move item 2 favorable. Second.
Item 2 has been moved and seconded as favorable. Alder DeColo.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I think this is a good move by the Board of Education, combining all these departments into one and the savings. So I know it's 1.7 million, but there is a great savings to what they did. So I think it was a positive move. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder DeColo. Alder Walker-Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in favor of this item. A person that used Power Schools is actually really, really effective. The teachers update everything on it. And it was, my question was gonna be about the teacher evaluation, because when my kids was in school, that part wasn't a part of it. And I think bringing everything together does make it more efficient, especially if a program is working. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Alder Walker-Myers, further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. We're going to pass over item 3. Alder DeColo.
Mr. Chair, I move item 4 favorable. Second.
Item 4 has been moved and seconded as favorable. Alder DeColo.
I think this is a good move, using the 3 million as the additional state aid to the general fund balance for educational purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder DeColo. Further discussion, Alder Honda Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm not in favor of moving $3 million. I believe the Board of Education needs a forensic audit done on their books so that we don't have to go back through these deficits all over again. So until that can happen, then I'm voting not in favor of this.
Thank you, Alder Honda Smith. Further discussion of the item? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. It will move forward favorably. Alder DeColo.
Mr. Chair, I move item 5 favorably. Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Alder DeColo.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I think this is a good use of the multiple grant aid. It's eligible for capital projects, and I think it'll be helpful in obtaining bonding authority going forward for projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder DeColo. Alder Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in favor of the use of these funds as explained tonight or testified tonight in regards to the need for the rolling stock. This is really a gift, a blessing for us to get this money now and be able to move it around, to be able to ensure that we have safe fire trucks on the road, and other rolling stock is needed, but at least we know that it takes almost 4 years to build a fire truck, and the current fire trucks will be out of commission in 4 years. So I think this is a really good way to, just move the budget around to be able to make sure that all the support is provided, including the various sidewalks and speed bumps and things that the community are continuously requesting. So I am in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Morrison. Further discussion on this item, Alder Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I have mixed emotions. I am in favor of the rolling stock in the way that that we do need these different trucks to be on the road. It's very important, especially our fire apparatus, especially the ladder truck. It's been out of, for a long time. But I'm really not in favor of the Board of Education, once again, until we get some things done, because we've been pushing money over to the Board of Education and these buildings are still not together. And I'm not for sure if it's going to continue to be that way, if they're going to utilize it for that. So That's my next motion, so if I can give a half a motion, then I would do that. But, let me think about this a little bit more. But I am in favor of rolling stock, but not for Board of Education.
Thank you, Alder Smith. Alder Walker-Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I am in favor of the item. I know a lot of our equipment, our rolling stock, we have to make sure vehicles and stuff is safe. And I think we have, as a board, been saying, we build these nice buildings and everything, and we never think about having a plan for maintenance and keeping them up. I think this is the first step in doing some of those things, and I just think that we can't take a gamble with our fire trucks. We know that the trash trucks, from experience, are broke down, spraying on everybody's car, spraying on the whole entire street, making a neighborhood not smell so fresh, and people complain about those things. I actually think that is a constituent service too, right? Because my phone is always ringing on trash day. So I just think that while we have this extra money from the state and we're able to move things around, I think it's a perfect opportunity to do so. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Walker-Myers. Alder Hamilton.
Thank you, Chair. I'm also in support of the item. Trash trucks definitely need some upgrading, as well as our fire trucks. So definitely, I'm in support of the item. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alder Hamilton. Further discussion on this item? Further discussion on this item, I'll just say for the record, Alder Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question. Is there any way possible that we can move a couple of millions from Board of Education to the rolling stock with fire trucks and public work trucks? And I'll be in favor then if we can do that.
Alder Smith, you would have to propose that as an amendment.
May I propose that as an
Yeah,
amendment?
you would move an amendment to amend it, et cetera, et cetera.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move to make the amendment of that.
Just please specify the number, the amount of money and what you're moving it from and to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I propose to move 1 million to the rolling stock for the purchase of fire apparatus. And I also, from the Board of Education, and I also would like to move 1 million from the Board of Education to the engineer for municipal aid, leaving the Board of Education with $2 million for repairs of the facilities.
Okay, a motion to amend has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. So as the maker, you get first dibs on discussion of your motion to amend.
Yes. So, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I asked for that amendment because I believe that by working for the city for over 30 years, I definitely know the importance of the trucks that needs to be fixed. And a lot of these trucks, if they go out of commission, then we don't receive the city services in which that we need to receive. And as we do get complaints from our constituents in regards to trash not being picked up because of breakdowns that may have occurred, or if fire truck don't have a ladder, for instance, hypothetically saying Bella Vista that has one of the highest towers, and they're building new towers that are higher, and we need to be able to reach the levels like 360. I don't believe a ladder can go as far up to all of those 36 or 25 floors that we have. So we need to upgrade, and I think because of the expense that have increased on fire apparatus, I believe this extra $1 million will help out to get what we need, and also we'll be able to take care of the facilities. If we can do this, I will definitely vote on favorable for this.
Okay, so other alders can get on the queue to speak about this, but I'm just asking for clarity's sake. The item as it was proposed to us would take the money from the state and put it into various things, which then frees up $8 million, which the city proposed to put $4 million into schools, $2 million into engineering, and $2 million into rolling stock. Your amendment would take $1 million from the $4 for the Board of Ed and put it into rolling stock, and $1 million from the Board of Ed and put it into engineering, leaving the Board of Ed with an additional 2 instead of 4,
That's correct.
and but increasing those other 2 by $1 million each.
That's correct.
Okay. Discussion of that motion to amend. Discussion of that motion to amend. Alder Walker-Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not in favor of that amendment only because we have the way the proposal came to us was giving each category what they actually needed. And I'm pretty sure they talked with all of these groups before making it. I would hope, let me change that. I would hope that they talked to all of these groups and the engineering and everyone was comfortable with the number that they got. I think we have, and don't quote me on a number because I know I'm wrong, but we have a number of different school facilities that also need a lot of work and a lot of care. And actually, since I've been here, we've been really concentrating on our fire department, our police departments. Whenever we bond for rolling stock and stuff, they have always been a part of that. And I think this is an opportunity to make sure everybody is actually getting what they need. So that's why I'm not, even though I know those trash trucks over there are messed up and we're giving them some money, that's why I'm not in favor of changing what we have in front of us. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, thank you, Alder Walker Myers. Next in the queue is Alder Furlow, followed by Alder Morrissey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an interesting amendment, but I'm not able to support it at this time, but maybe by the time it gets to the second reading, because as our colleague did say from the 23rd Ward, I would hate to make this kind of amendment without hearing from the department heads to see. Now, let me just back up. We are all frustrated with the Board of Education. But having said that, we have schools that are falling apart, mold, pools that are not functioning. And I think that the answer is not in lessening the amount of money, that's not the right word, or reducing the amount of money given to the Board of Ed. I think the answer is more in tightening the screws. We're gonna have to pay more attention to what's going on with the Board of Ed, with the money that we're releasing. This committee has the authority through the chair to receive reports, whether it's monthly, we can ask for them weekly if you want to. And to really put the screws in and just watch what's going on and making sure that what we're releasing is being allocated to what they say they're going to do with it. And so, having said that, I will not be in favor of this right now, but I reserve the right at the second reading to see what more becomes of it. And we have until we got a month. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Furlow. Alder Morrison, and then the queue's open.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can't support this amendment due to the fact that, in being on this board for so long, these schools have not been taken care of. It's like that drip of water that continues to come down. And when you don't take care of the drip, next thing you know, you have a big hole. And we have a big hole as far as all our schools are concerned. And so by getting this, I call it a gift, this extra money to be able to do some real work as far as the schools are concerned, I think, we have to. I mean, everything is going up except what's being given to the Board of Ed. And as we all know, in dealing with the Board of Ed issues for the last few months, there's no money there. The buildings still need support. And so I think that the way that these funds have been broken down, it would be able to help support a little bit of everybody, constituents from, kids all the way through adulthood. So I won't be able to support this amendment, but I definitely wish we could create some type of steward fund as far as the schools are concerned, so they don't have to come to us for so many millions of dollars at one time. Okay.
Thank you, Alder Morrison. Next on the queue is Alder Penzo.
Not to be redundant, I agree with all my colleagues, about the allocation that was presented to us, I think should stay the way it is, so I'm not in favor of the amendment.
Thank you, Alder Punzo. Any further discussion on the amendment as it was made? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The nays have it, the amendment fails. Back to the item as it was originally moved. Any further discussion on the item as it was originally moved? I'll just say for the record that I asked a number of questions, kind of having a little bit of an argument with our Director of Management and Budget about why not just reduce our capital borrowing by $8 million. But I think the staff made a really good point about how deferred maintenance ends up costing you more. And I think that the savings of $8 million reduction in the $60 million, the savings we would get from in our debt service over 30 years would probably be more than eclipsed by the increased cost, the incremental increase in cost to schools and other facilities that have had their maintenance deferred. And so I think it's probably not a money saver in the end to withhold that $8 million investment. And so I'm speaking in favor of the motion. Any further discussion of this motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. The item will move forward with a favorable recommendation. Alder DeCola.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I move items 6 and 7 as read and filed.
Okay.
The items have been moved as read and file 6 and 7. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of recommending the board read and file these items, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Those will go forward as read and file recommendations. Alder DeCola.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I move that we adjourn.
Second.
The motion to adjourn has been made and seconded. Any discussion on that motion? I'm looking very carefully. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.
Right?